Hey everyone, so for this week, I want you guys to create your own comic book character, and I wanted to walk you through a drawing process that I really like to use when I'm starting to design something. Now, coolest thing about comic books is that they do have all these amazing characters, so I want to challenge you guys to come up with your own character. So I tried to actually film on a piece of paper, tried to have the camera over my shoulders so you could kind of see what I do on paper, and just wasn't working. So I did switch over to digital, but it's really similar. As you can see, this just kind of draws the same way that you would on any piece of paper. It's a little bit fancier because I can zoom in and stuff like that, but hopefully it'll replicate a little bit of what you guys are going to be doing so that you can kind of see the process and how I like to design. So first thing is, with your character, come up with what you want your character to be. This is really going to help you sort of think about the type of drawing you want to do and what you might be adding to your drawing. Now, your character can be something very, very simple. Maybe it's just a set of little squares, and each square has a different personality, and they all carry protest signs against circles or whatever you want your characters to be. Maybe they all have hats. I don't know. But basically, whatever you guys want to do, you can decide on how you want your character to be and what you want it to look like. So I'm going to show you one that's a little bit more complex, but feel free to go as simple or complicated as you want. So there are 3 questions that I want you guys to think about with your character. The first one is, where is your character from? Is it from outer space? Does it come from a swamp? I decided I wanted to do a character from New Jersey. I kind of had this voice in my head, and it decided it was going to be an East Coast character. Next thing is, think about a special ability that your character might have. This can be a good way to think about maybe what sort of accessories or what sort of position or even what kind of personality your character has. So I've been eating a lot of pizza, decided my character really needed an ability to make amazing pizzas. Finally, it's really good to think about the goal of your character. What do they like to do? What is their motivation? Maybe it's saving everybody whose name starts with the letter M, or it's destroying all evil. However complex you want to get, think about the goal. For my character, their goal is to teach the world that pineapple is the best pizza topping, because it is. So those are kind of the 3 things to start thinking about your character. And then from there, you can start thinking about how you want to draw it. Now, after I've decided what I want my character to look like, I'm going to actually look up some reference photos. I decided that all of these little personality traits would be really fun to incorporate into a unicorn. So that's where I'm going with it. Now from there, this is where I love the internet. You can do image searches for just about everything from the character itself, get some ideas of how other people have drawn it, to one thing that I found while I was drawing was that I really needed to look up horse hooves. Had no idea what they looked like, couldn't really picture how they connected to the horse itself. And so, you can look up everything from the smallest details to maybe even just things to give you ideas. Maybe you're looking up pizza, and you're trying to figure out how a pizza's cut, what the angle looks like, what are its colors. Whatever you need, feel free to use reference photos. What you want to avoid in this case, however, is if you've decided that a unicorn is going to be your character, and you really like this unicorn, try and add your own touch to it instead of just duplicating the exact thing that you see. Maybe you use this as your base, but then you're able to add the hair comes out in different directions. Maybe the eyes closed instead of being open. Try and push yourself to make things your own. All right, so now I'm going back to my piece of paper. I've got my ideas here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to do some really, really basic sketches. And this is a step that a lot of people skip, but it's really helpful before you get deep into a drawing to just kind of play with some ideas. So first idea I kind of want to play with is I'm just going to draw some really basic shapes. And I think I want my unicorn holding a pineapple here. And then maybe it's holding a pizza in this other hand. And, you know, she's kind of hanging out like this. So you can see these are really, really basic sketches. I'm using lines, not much more than a stick figure. Actually, maybe I want the unicorn to be on top of the pizza. Maybe she's just standing on one leg and her other leg is back out like this. She's got her flowing mane here. Maybe she's holding the pineapple out like this. That could be an option. Or, you know, maybe I'll even play with what if it's a big head here. There's a big pizza in the background. Who knows? These are all just little sketches I can play with. Once you decide on a sketch that you really like, that's when you want to start detailing it a little bit further. I think in this case, I'm kind of liking this idea here. So I'm going to go with a standing unicorn carrying some different items. So now from there, this is where I can actually start cartooning it out. This is where I'm going to add a few more details, figure out the shapes. I might go back and forth between looking at a reference photo and what I'm working on, just so that I can start getting some of those details. Now, I really wanted to show you guys the whole process of how I go from a drawing like this to something more detailed, but I couldn't figure out how to speed up a video, and it took me probably 30 minutes to come up with my final drawing. So I've broken it down into some steps, but unfortunately, I'm not sure how to speed it up like that. So basically, from this drawing, I've decided this was a pretty good outline that I liked, and I wanted to go a little bit more detailed. So then I actually went into something like this. In this case, I started adding details to the pizza. I made her a little bit fancier looking, detailed out her legs, decided I wanted her to have an apron. And this was kind of my final sketch that I came up with. Now, what's really cool when you're drawing, and I like to do this a lot, it's called a two-tone drawing. And you start with a colored pencil. It can be any color that you want. And this is what you can use to draw in some of the shapes that you're working with without really having to worry about your final drawing. So if I were drawing a horse here, I might actually, I'm going to try that again, just to give you a better idea. I can go in with my colored pencil. I can start drawing out some of these shapes. I can think about where the lines are going to go. So it's not super important how it comes together. I can start adding some little details. And this is all light enough with my colored pencil that when I go in with a pen or a darker pencil, I can add these lines and I can really clean it up so that it looks exactly how I want it to without having to worry about some of the mistakes that I might have made underneath. So using a yellow colored pencil, light blue or red can really make it so that you can practice your drawing first before you're working on a final. So that's a technique that I love to use. And you can see that I actually use that even with this one. I have my blue sketch underneath, which is kind of, those were my underlines. And then I went in with the black and actually added all of my precise details, rearranged some things as I went. You can even see where I made some changes just to make it a little bit more how I wanted. So from there, that's my final drawing. Now you can draw and color right on top, even if it has these under sketches. I love to see that, and sometimes I really like to see what that looks like. You can also use a window and trace over your final sketch. Sometimes that's really nice because it can give you these nice clean lines if that's something that you're looking for. And then I want you to think about color. Color has a lot of meaning, especially in comic books. And whether something is a super happy, smiley kitten, but you do it with really dark colors, can have one effect, versus maybe it's a very huge, giant monster, but you do it in pastel pink. So think about the colors and how they can actually help you portray some of the personality that you want to show in your character. So I kind of liked the idea of maybe this unicorn is a little bit more punk rock, but she's still very feminine, very much a unicorn. So I went with some colors like this. So this I was able to add. You guys will be using colored pencils or watercolor. Or if you just want to go black and gray, that is totally fine as well. Just think about adding some shading, some lines, anything that can add a little bit more dimension to your drawing. So there you go. Hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of the process you can use for your comic book characters. And I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with. I think there's a lot of creativity from what I've seen, and I know you guys will come up with something cool. So happy drawing.